I'm not sure if this video is going to be edited or not, but it probably won't be. I mean, I've got one video already that needs editing, and I just feel I want to get a video uploaded when I can. I had played about with the idea of doing this video. I wasn't quite sure whether to do it or not, but I thought I just had the spontaneous thought a moment ago. I just thought I might as well get it out there while I can. And this is regarding my Royale story. And I know there has been a lot of it on the internet at the moment. I mean, it's not as big as the hashtag change the channel situation, but I feel like I kind of need to give my side of the story as well, seems that I've kind of been roped into this unwillingly, maybe willingly, I don't know. Maybe because I've decided to stay by Mike's side and that kind of thing. I know probably a lot of people who watch my channel and probably know what's been going on are probably going to leave me because they're thinking I'm sympathising with a stalker when I'm not. But I don't mind. I really don't mind. I've had people leave me before. Won't be any different. I'm used to it now. So I just wanted to sort of talk about my story. There are happy aspects of it, and you know, I want to talk about the fun times that I had on there. I don't want it to be completely a negative story, but a negative video, but you know, I just want to, there's some things I need to address as well. So excuse me, I am a bit and to be honest with you, I am nervous doing this video. I really am. I'm nervous to upload it too. Anyway, I joined Royale during its 3rd year. I joined in, well, late 2016. I actually joined in the September 2016. After, I think, a little while of like Mike trying to get me onto the podcast, and finally I got onto there, and I guess you could kind of say I started off as a guest, and then I kind of slowly kind of became more regular. I mean, I wouldn't call myself one of the temporary co-hosts because, I mean, probably maybe towards the end of my time at Royale, maybe, but in a way I wouldn't want that to kind of to be the situation, because in a way, I mean, I don't want to sort of would want to call myself a former female co-host. I would rather say I was a former co-host, because, you know, number one, because there was that stigma behind female co-hosts in the history of Royale, and also in a way I kind of felt like sometimes, like, if Devon was there or I was there, it didn't really matter that I was a girl. I think it was cool to have that kind of equality and diversity in there, but really you just forget about it, you know. You're just in the zone, you're just talking about films, and you know, you just think of yourself as one of the boys. So, you know, it's that kind of thing. And I remember feeling really excited that I was going to be on there, because I had been watching, I started watching Royale, it must have been probably late 2015, because my first episode I saw was when they were talking about comic strip films, and it was a little while after the Paris bombings, that sort of thing. Anyway, I've been watching and that kind of thing. And then, as we know from Royale, from the Drunk Royale and that sort of thing, and I've spoken about this before, but I met Mike Mixtape for a audition for the April Fool's special of 2016. Unfortunately, I didn't end up in the special itself, but luckily, you know, several months later I ended up being in the actual podcast, which was pretty awesome. And like I said, you know, I was just super excited. I was going to be doing this podcast. I was going to be on a podcast with Matt Brunei because I was still kind of fangirling at that point and still had that really big crush on him that I am kind of embarrassed to talk about sometimes, but I was super excited. I was going to be on this podcast and, you know, it was probably going to open me up more as a YouTuber and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, I was just over the moon. I was just so excited and it was great fun. And I've had some fantastic memories, you know. There's times where I watch back on the podcast, even though it is quite hard at times because most of them are with the people that I used to know as friends and stuff, and it is quite hard. But in a way, I still watch them because, you know, it reminds me of the fun we had. Like, there's so many memories that I have, you know, like of when, you know, doing the, the musicals revisited podcast. I have fond memories of that because that was my first ever podcast I did. The Winnie the Pooh podcast, how I was trying to talk about pooing in a Winnie the Pooh sense and Matt was trying to twist it in a conventional sense, and I ended up peeing myself laughing and just having so many fond memories and, you know, things like that. And I remember, you know, memories for so many other, you know, every other podcast. And I remember like having fun memories of doing things like the Hanna-Barbera podcast. That was really good fun to do, and it was like my first podcast that I actually did with the 3 original guys, you know, with Matt, James and Morgan, and of course Mike, and you know, we had Michael Kimpton on as well, which was amazing. Doing a podcast with another British person was brilliant. And you know, it's that kind of thing. I mean, there's too many memories for me to name. And I mean, I even enjoyed my time, like when we had like the new co-host come in with Cody and Sam. I mean, I think I only did like one podcast with Sam, but most of them I did with Cody, and I found Cody was quite funny and he seemed to find me funny, and actually it was really nice that I was able to get a word in edgeways and be funny, and some really fun memories from that, like the Robin Hood podcast. That was pretty cool to do. That was great fun, to be honest, even though like the night before I was nervous about meeting a new co-host and stuff, and had like a bit of a panic over it, and like and I was emotional. It was still good fun to do. So, you know, I'm enjoying myself and stuff. But there's one thing I should probably mention that Mike had mentioned before, but I'll go into a bit more detail. The time zones. Basically, when they did it, they always had to go around James's schedule because he had, I mean, compared with me and the other guys, he had the biggest time zone gap. Like, basically, on Mike's end, we would meet up at 9 o'clock in the evening, his time, which was, I can't remember what time, but for James it would be 7 o'clock, and for so basically between me and James there was I'm sorry if I'm just not making sense or whatever, I'm kind of nervous about this, but like between me and James there was an 8-hour time zone gap. I was 8 hours ahead of him. I'm 6 hours ahead of Mike. I was 5 hours ahead of Matt, Morgan and Devon, and I think also Cody and Sam. And so basically, meeting up at 7 o'clock James's time, which would be 9 o'clock 9 o'clock in the evening Mike's time, 10 o'clock in the evening Matt, Morgan and Devon's time, and for me being ahead the most, that was 3 o'clock in the morning for me. And for most people who are in England, where you are usually about 3 o'clock in the morning, you're in bed asleep. And I did find it really hard to there were times where I found it hard to just be able to sleep because I'm thinking to myself, right, I want to make sure I get sleep before this podcast. So there were times where I would try to go to sleep at 9 o'clock in the evening, which doesn't happen for me. I don't go to bed at 9 o'clock. I go to bed at 10, 11, midnight or whatever. So for me, it was like trying to get some sleep. But once I finally get myself to sleep, because my brain's still whizzing around and still, buzzing and stuff, and from excitement and also just, you know, because my brain's still naturally awake, that's it, I just couldn't get to sleep. So by the time I got to sleep, I'd be woken up by my alarm and like, oh, I had to get up and feel kind of odd and weird and slightly woozy in the stomach. So that was quite hard to do. So there were times where I thought, screw it, I'll just do all-nighter. You know, I'll just stay up till 3, we'll do the podcast, then I can go to bed. And at times that didn't really work. And a good example of that is the birth years we visited, because basically what happened was that the scheduling got mixed up. Because when I first did it, it was practically when I was a carer, I used to work every other weekend, and luckily we used to do the podcast whenever I was due to be on the podcast. It would land on a non-working weekend, but with this podcast, Birth Years Revisited, in February, it ended up being on a working weekend. So I worked the Friday night, a late shift, I was having Saturday off, and then I was doing a Sunday early shift. So what happened was that I kind of ran out of time during the week because of, you know, working and stuff and doing other things and resting to make sure I have energy to go to work and that kind of thing. I ran out of time to watch my film. So what I had to do was that, you know, I finished work at 8 o'clock in the evening. I order Chinese food, I go home, I watch my film. By the time I finish watching my film, or by the time I get home, it's about 8:30 or something in the evening, 8:45. And so, and a film like Hocus Pocus is roughly like 80-90 minutes. So like possibly at 90 minutes, that's an hour and a half. So by the time I start watching the film at 8:30, it would be 10 o'clock. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to be able to get myself to sleep in time because, you know, if I go to sleep, it'll be time for me to soon wake up. So I just did an all-nighter. And that kind of did work, you know, I got some editing done and stuff, and I was able to stay up and whatever. But you notice in the podcast, like when I'm trying to explain bits of Hocus Pocus and I go blank, like I don't say anything, my mind just goes blank, it's because that's when the tiredness started to kick in. Like pretty much from working a 6-hour, a half shift, a late shift, then going home, trying to watch a film, doing editing, staying up, not getting rest, and that sort of thing, and I end up crashing. After talking my film, I just crash and I just fall asleep. But luckily in that case, I did give the guys a heads up. I said, hey, I've been working a late shift, I'm trying to watch my movie and I haven't got time to sleep. I'm going to try and do an all-nighter, so if I crash during the podcast, I do apologise. So that kind of happened. And so yeah. Anyway, so there were times that the time zones were quite hard to deal with. And then it was sort of after I left work, after I quit my job to do my freelance singing, things were okay, but I still had problems with anxiety and stress and stuff. Like my body would just go into, like as soon as something would slightly stress me out, boom, straight into, you know, stress mode or something that made me feel nervous, boom, straight into anxiety mode. I think I've said this before in a video. But what happened was that my mental health problems were kind of affecting me. And one thing that happened back into December of 2016, I had my first panic attack, and I spoke to James that night and everything. But then May came around, and that was when my mental health problems really kind of took over, and that kind of did have an effect on the guys. And I just want to say this now, if anybody out there like Morgan or James or Matt or Devon or anyone is watching this, I just want to say the reason why I came to you guys a lot is because I didn't exactly have the confidence at the time that I do now to go and talk to my parents about it, because I was thinking to myself, I don't want to put my parents through what they went through with my sister. I don't want to wake them up in the early hours of the morning. You know, they need their sleep. They're you know, they've got to wake up early in the morning to go to work and that kind of thing. I don't want to bother them. So I didn't have that confidence to go and talk to them. Even though my parents said all the time, like, oh, if you have any problems, please come speak to us. But now I do have that confidence to come and speak to them, you know. And also I got no one else. And that's why I came to you guys, because I felt more comfortable, and I didn't see it as I'll talk to the guys who are on the podcast. It was I'll talk to my friends. And, you know, I want to talk to my friends. I want to be open to people about this thing, because I don't want to... I want to be open and to be able to show that you can live a life being open with your mental health issues, and be able to, you know, talk to people and stuff to kind of drive down the stigma, but that kind of didn't work. And so that's the reason why I came to you guys. And also, when you are having problems in the early hours in the morning and you don't want to wake your parents, who do you turn to? Well, luckily I had some Americans and Canadians who, you know, were awake at that time of night, because it was a different time to them in the day. And so that's why I kind of came to you guys in the first place. But I found that the mental health problems did affect people, and it kind of did affect everything in our group and with the podcast. Like, I never wanted to cause problems. I just want to say this now. I never ever intended to go out my way to cause problems. I didn't want to be in that bracket of female co-host, because there was a stigma behind that. Like, pretty much, if you were the female co-host on some Royale, you were going to be there, be friends with everyone, then cause drama, and then you be kicked out or asked to leave, or you leave yourself. So I didn't want to do that. I was terrified that I was going to do that, and I would apologise to people. I'm like, I'm so sorry if I'm bothering you. I don't want to bother you, and, you know, I'm not that kind of person. I'm not a Jada. You know, I'm not a Jada. I'm not a Mia. I'm who I am. I need help, and I just want to be able to talk to people. You know, I didn't have the confidence to talk to my parents at the time, so I spoke to them, which helped, which did help at times, you know. And even though maybe sometimes they may not know how to help me, they just kind of saw it, as, oh, she doesn't want to help herself, or whatever we do, it doesn't work for her, hence she's not grateful. Well, I was always grateful for you guys to be there. And the fact that Morgan said in his video that I, like, when people came on Skype late, when I messaged them and be like, how dare you, where were you, and all that stuff, I never did that. I'm not that kind of person, you know. I don't think I ever did that. Like, I can't remember what would happen back then. All I knew was that, you know, sometimes, you know, I messaged the guys, and if they could come to my help, that was great. If they couldn't, then that was fine. I'd just try and solve the problem by myself, or if I really plucked up the courage, I'd go and talk to my parents, and things would be okay. I never had a go at everybody. Morgan, what you said, that's bullshit. I never had a go at people. I'm not that type of person. I really am not that type of person, you know. I appreciated the fact that, you know, you guys were busy and working and the time zones and stuff. And the thing was, when people said, like, oh, she didn't know how to help herself, or we couldn't help her, like, we try and calm her down, or we try and help her and things would be fine, but then she'd be ill again. It's like, mental health issues, like severe mental health issues, they just it can consume you. It felt like sometimes I just had like this kind of spiritual ghost on my back that basically was the mental health problems, and it was just controlling my mind and make my body do all these things, and my mind do all these things, and really had turned me into a person that I really wasn't. Like, I mean, I feel like I'm sort of getting back to my old self, but I still got a long way to go. It really robbed me of who I was, you know, this confident person. And, you know, this person that could do anything, like go to work and earn money, that sort of thing. It robbed me of that, and it basically kind of turned me into this person that I didn't want to be, which was an attention seeker. Like, at the time I didn't think about it, but when watching Morgan's video and speaking to Devon about it, I kind of felt like, okay, maybe I was a bit of an attention seeker, and I felt really bad about that. Like, I was going through a bad patch anyway, but I felt bad about it, and I didn't see it as that way. I didn't see it as an attention seeker. Like, I asked my parents, I said, do you think I'm an attention seeker? And they said, no, of course you're not. Like, basically, when you're going through a really bad patch of mental health, like, you don't know what to do. You are just stuck in this space, like, be it anxiety or depression or anything, self-harm thoughts. All you want is reassurance. And I didn't have the confidence to go to my parents, so I just wanted someone to give me reassurance. And if it meant you guys on the podcast, then so be it. It was hard. Sorry. It was hard to kind of deal with it by myself. It's a very scary thing to go through. It really is. It's a very, very scary thing to go through by yourself. And I just wanted someone to be there, even if you couldn't be, I wasn't asking anyone to be a trained psychologist and know what to do, or if they knew what to do, then that was great. If not, I just wanted someone to be there and just having someone's presence on Skype or via messenger of text or calling or whatever. Having someone's presence was reassuring enough. I just didn't want to go through it by myself. I just wanted someone to be able to just be like, it's okay, you're gonna be okay, Seth. Everything's gonna be fine. And even at times, if I had these self-harm thoughts, I wanted to talk to people about it instead of letting them linger on and me doing it. But I know there were times where it's actually got to a point where those thoughts were too strong, and it would end up happening, like, they literally consume your mind, and literally all this thought is doing is just controlling you to go get a sharp object and do it. So anyway, I'm so sorry. I really do apologise if I seemed attention seeking to you, but it's just that I just didn't want to go through scary moments by myself, and I just wanted reassurance. That's all I wanted. That's all I really wanted, was just reassurance. I just wanted someone's presence. I mean, is that a crime? Really? To just, it's scary to go through that. And a panic attack is the most horriblest thing to go through. I said before, I wouldn't even wish it on my worst enemy. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, because it's just horrible, and it's a terrifying process. You think either you're going to die or you're going to pass out. So yeah, I found at one point my mental health problems were affecting me, and also with that, I found it very hard to connect myself with the podcast at times, because around about that time, when sort of May, June, when I was going through my mental health problems, I just had this kind of hazy view on the world. Like, I guess the not feeling connected with your surroundings. It literally kind of felt like I was walking through a dream that I was in control of. Like, just my life was a lucid dream. And so it was hard to kind of connect myself with the podcasts. And, even though I join in and have fun and everything, it was very hard to connect myself. And that became a lot harder when the format changed and we had new co-hosts and stuff. I'm not blaming Cody or Sam on that. It's just that I found it very hard to connect myself. I did find when I started smoking, like basically that haziness went away and I was able to connect with my surroundings. And, you know, but, you know, I was still able to carry on with the podcast, but I did find it very hard to stay awake during the podcasts at times. Like, and I think that was because of the mental health problems, because if I wasn't I didn't feel connected with the podcast and that kind of thing, and connected with my surroundings, hence the sleepiness was just sort of kind of kicking straight away. I really can't explain it. It's really hard to explain. So I just found it very hard to stay awake. And there was one podcast we did, which was the 100th episode, where I was going to go to Leicester for the day, but I didn't end up going in the end because I was tired and emotional after that podcast, like I was with the birth years revisited. And I remember James said to me, like, make sure that he said this to me, and it was like you didn't say it beforehand, like you never said it beforehand, maybe because this was the second time, but he said just make sure it doesn't become a regular thing, Steph. And it's like, I understand what you're saying, but actually I understand what you're saying, but in another way, if you think about it, I have to, like, for you guys, it's easy. You still have energy and stuff to, you know, you're just coming to the end of your day. Yes, you may be a bit tired, but for me, I'm having to get up at like funny hours in the morning. And it really depends on whether I've had a good night's sleep the night before, or if I couldn't get to sleep and had to do an all-nighter. It was a struggle, and sometimes I could get through it. Like the last ever podcast I did, which was the live episode for Mike's birthday, I was really proud of myself because I actually did stay awake during that. Throughout the whole thing, I stayed awake. And, you know, that sort of thing. And, you know, that's the thing that happens. And, like, I almost got to a point where I kind of was contemplating whether to leave Cinema Royale because of it, because of the sleeping problems and stuff, but I thought to myself, well, I really can't do this anymore. But the thing was, I wasn't appearing on all the time, you know. I wasn't appearing on all the time, but when there was the times that I did come on, it was quite hard for me to do it. So there was one point where I was playing about with the thought of leaving Cinema Royale. Like, you know, I didn't know what to do. But I carried on doing it because I loved doing it, you know. It was great fun, you know. It was a place where I could do my reviewing, kind of the reviewing side of me, like what I used to do years ago on my channel, and things like that. It's just like, you know, and I always did it just to be with people. I didn't do it for the films or anything. I just did it to be on. No, I didn't just to be on the podcast, but I did it for the fun. You know, for the fun of it. The main thing for me was just, you know, being on there and having a great time. That was my thing. That was what I always looked forward to, and that's the reason I did it, because I had fun and I was able to talk to people on Skype that I wouldn't usually get a chance to talk to. Like, very rarely would I get a chance to sit down with Matt, and there were 2 times where the Skype call wasn't working, so we all had to drop out, but then it'd be down to me and Matt, and I always thought to myself, like, if it happened again, I would just have this line of just saying to him, like, Mr. Brunet, we need to stop meeting like this. So yeah, so, you know, I mean, me and Matt did kind of get to talk for a bit on Skype, but like, we never had like proper sit down Skype conversations, just me and him. But it was lovely, you know, to be able to you know, to talk to people that I wouldn't really get a chance to, like with Michael Kimpton. Never got a chance to speak to him much, but the fact that I got to Skype him when we did the podcast, and occasionally we all meet up and Skype each other, it was really good fun. And I always enjoyed, the screenings we did, apart from one, Arachnophobia. Yeah, yeah, that didn't go down too well. If you want to know what that's about, go and see Morgan's video on that. But the thing is, like, I really kind of don't blame Mike. Like, maybe he could have done more to kind of comfort me, but I don't blame him at all. You know, I just kind of see that as a bad experience, and I kind of like lost confidence in screenings. And luckily when we did a group screening just for fun, luckily I was able to do that, and you know, we had great fun with that, and it was a good film we saw. So yeah, so overall with my experience and everything, it was good fun. I had some fantastic friends, you know. I got to, in the drunk Royale, you know, I actually got to sit down and have a drink with my friends, even though it was like early in the morning for me, which was probably a bad time to be drinking anyway. But, you know, that was one thing I'd always wanted to do, was, you know, be able to sit down with my friends on Skype and enjoy a beverage or two, and I got to do that. And, you know, we all got to watch films together, and that was really good fun, you know. And I remember, like, one film we tried to get through, but we couldn't, and that was Monty Python and the Holy Grail, even though it was either, you know, someone's laptop was playing up or we all fell asleep, so I wasn't the only one, yay! So, yeah. And, so anyway, I just kind of feel like I had a really good time. And there's probably one thing I should mention, like, actually, I'm sorry. Basically, I should really talk about what happened afterwards when the whole thing with Mike and Jada happened. You know, like he said in his video, I was a witness, and I remember, I think it must have been something like, you know, I messaged him like, hi, and I said, how are you? And he's like, not good. I'm like, what's wrong? He said, something really bad's happened. I said, what's that? You know, and then he messaged me what happened, and I remember him, like, seeing him in a really bad state. Like, you could tell this man feels remorse. He is not, like, if people just think that he didn't feel remorse or guilt or anything, he did. He felt it majorly. It literally came down on him like a ton of bricks. And what happened was that, you know, he just became so numb, and his heart was racing. He was emotional. He didn't know, like, he thought he'd done the best thing, which was to be honest and not lead her on a wild goose chase. You know, he wanted to do the best thing, and as they say, honesty is always the best policy. So he was honest and told her, and she took it the wrong way, and, or, you know, she kind of freaked out, and that's what happened. How I kind of was in the mix, like, this is how I kind of, in a way, I guess, kind of unwillingly got mixed up into all of this, where basically I just found people left me. Well, the thing is, I should probably explain first that, like Mike, me and Morgan had a bit of an on-off relationship, and I think it was after the Hanna-Barbera one, and I tried to get Morgan to talk to Mike because, you know, Mike, like, wanted just to talk to Morgan and talk things out, but Morgan was having none of it, you know, and that sort of thing. And I mean, that's the one thing about Morgan. He's been renowned to be a very temperamental person. Like, he'll either be like you know, you're really good friends and that, like, best chummies 1 minute, and then the next he just disowns you and doesn't want to talk to you at all, and then he'll come back on his terms, you know. And I did find that very, very difficult to kind of deal with. Like, there were times where, like, one time I said to him, I said, look, Mike really wants to talk things out with you, you know, he is sorry for what he's done. Because this was when Morgan left Mike about me self-harming and what he said. You know, he wanted to talk things out. He was very emotional, the fact that Morgan had left him, and he just wanted to be able to, you know, as you do, like grown-ups, sit down and talk things out. But Morgan wasn't exactly being grown up. I mean, that's probably how he deals with his problems, just disowns you and doesn't talk to you for like ages. So yeah, so basically with that, he decided not to talk to me, and I thought it was because I tried to get him to talk to Mike, and I had apologised to him or whatever, but it turned out he didn't want to talk to me. When we made when he came back to the Royale before it ended, he said to Mike that he didn't want to speak to me because he didn't want to get roped up in my drama, or he didn't want to be associated with me because of my mental health problems, and he said that I was just doing it for attention, stuff like that. And I thought, great, brilliant, another person. Because what I should explain at first is that, like I said, Matt had left me as a friend because he couldn't deal with my problems and sent me a big massive message, and part of it saying that, like, you don't want to help yourself, you're doing it for attention, and and all that stuff. So that was one person who left me and said that I was doing it for attention. And then Morgan kind of left beforehand, but he was saying he didn't want to talk to me because he felt like I was using my mental health problems to get attention, which is something I don't do. I have many other ways that I could get attention, but I'm not going to do that. And also, I've never been an attention seeker. I never have been. I've never been out there to stir up stuff or to be like, look at me, I need attention, and all that stuff. I've never been like that. I've never been someone to go out and get attention. Like, and I think the only thing I got from that, especially from Morgan and everything, you know, with Mike messaging him, was the only attention I got was bad attention, you know? And I guess a little bit with Matt, you know? I just got bad attention. And I never thought I would have stigma thrown at me, but I did. And so Morgan had already left. Matt left me in the September of 2017 because he just couldn't deal with my problems and didn't want to be my friend anymore, which was very sad. And then when this whole thing came about with, you know, the Mike and Jada incident, I tried to speak to Cody Klusner about it and stuff, but after a while he decided to unfriend Mike and unfriend me and block me and stuff. But what was really a real kick to the gut and really sad for me was that a little while after Cody had left me, James decided to leave me. And that was really awful because James had, like, I thought James would kind of do better because I thought, you know, he would be there for me. Like, maybe he would stop talking to Mike, but he'd still be my friend and help me. But no, he decided that he didn't want to be my friend anymore, just in case I tried to message him about, you know, talking to Mike and, hey, why have you stopped being his friend and all that, which I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have done that anyway, you know. Maybe along the lines, whatever I may have, but I wouldn't have done that straight away, you know. And the fact that he gave Mike a message and at the end he said, don't let anything hold back that beautiful singing voice, because, you know. But it was just really sad that he left me as a friend. And I do miss James a lot. I miss his tonight's broadcasts, and I just miss doing singing projects with him. I totally regret not doing Son of Project Halloween. You know, I really regret not pulling out. I really regret pulling out of that, and I thought he was going to be there for me. I really did, but basically, you know, Cody and James left my side because the association thing. And I mean, with like we did a video for Matt and Morgan talk about more about me, and yes, I kind of was venting a bit, and well, naturally, because I was very angry. I was angry and emotional because the fact that you know, because the fact that they both had used the stigma of like, you're only doing it for attention, and I said like, you wouldn't do that if someone had a physical problem, like if someone was drowning or had a broken leg, you wouldn't say, oh, you're just doing that for attention, you know, or you know, you need to try harder to not be drowning, or try harder to pretend you haven't got a broken leg when you have. And I mean, I did have a bit of wine that night, but still, I was very, I was angry, I was upset, I was emotional with the fact that these guys had left me and viewed me in the way that I didn't want to be viewed, and the fact that I never thought of myself as that person. And I definitely give props to Matt. Like, I'm not angry at Matt or whatever, because the fact that he actually sat down, watched the video, he said, I'm glad to see you improving, I'm glad to see life treating you better, Steph, and I wish you the best, but I'd rather keep my distance, which is fine. At least he watched the video, you know, and the fact that he now no longer sees me as someone who's seeking attention, someone who's actually, you know, trying to help themselves, and they're getting better and life's treating them well, which is wonderful. But with Morgan, he didn't watch the video. Like, he didn't want to get involved in that shizzle and stuff, but the fact that I changed and I was trying my best to do stuff, you know, to help myself get better. Yes, I still had my good patches, bad patches cycle, but that's the thing, they always happen in cycles. You have a good patch, then you have a bad patch, and then you cycle back around to a good patch, and then so on and so on, you know. And but the fact that he just didn't want to watch it, and so he didn't want to see how I was doing now, and to see that I'd been improving and stuff, and he didn't want to see that. He just saw, he still thought of me as someone who was getting attention. And I mean, all the stuff he said in his video, like, he was very much talking out of context and twisting words, and the fact that he said that things were okay until co-host number 4, me, came along, and he said when co-host 4 came along, that was when things started to go wrong. So basically, he was blaming me for the fact that things were going wrong with Cinema Royale, and that hurt. To be honest, that really did hurt. And I guess at one point I kind of did blame myself. I did kind of blame myself because everything had kind of gone awry, and actually at one point, like, Morgan was gonna like, after me and Mike broke up for the second time, Morgan did sort of say like he wanted to be Mike's friend again, but he asked Mike if he was still talking to me, and he said yes. So the fact that Morgan and Mike could have got back together as friends if it hadn't been for me, and I did blame myself for that. And you know, I don't want to blame myself for things going wrong with Cinema Royale, but I mean, that's probably what happened. I mean, I probably ended up being a female co-host of Cinema Royale, where whatever I did caused drama, and whatever I did caused rifts between people, and made it hard for people, and for that I'm sorry. I am truly, truly sorry. And if this doesn't show remorse, I don't know what does. Or if this isn't remorse, I don't know what is. Because like I said before, I never went out to be an attention seeker. I never went out to cause drama. And when people left me, my confidence in making friends just went rock bottom, through the floor. And I felt like I didn't trust myself to keep my, friends that still existed. Like my friends at the Walking Theatre Club, I felt like I couldn't trust myself to keep them. Because I felt like if I said something wrong, or do something wrong that was so minor, or even with internet friends, mostly internet friends, but I guess friends in general, I was just scared that if I said something minor or did the most minor thing, boom, that was it, they would leave me. And and that really terrified me. And I guess I kind of went through this phase where I did have a separation anxiety, and I still have those problems now. Like, I mean, I've been talking to Star, Dan's wife, and I got a little bit emotional with her because I just felt like, I just want to have friends and stuff, and I'm scared of what might happen. And I'm still very much scared now. It's hard. Like, I never really had this kind of thing growing up at school or whatever, but I feel like, I just feel like this whole experience, I just never thought this would happen at all. I never thought that my mental health problems would affect people. But that's the thing, you just don't realise these things. And I should have known better because, like, I've been through it all before with my sister, and it does have a ripple effect on people. It has that ripple effect. And I guess in a way that's probably why I didn't talk to my parents about these things, or have the confidence to, because I didn't want that ripple effect to happen. And I just thought that, people were going to be there for me. My friends were going to be there for me and be able to help me out no matter what. But I think the only person that really has been is Mike. I mean, the reason I stay by his side, because I know, I know he tried to do the right thing, and I know he was very remorseful and full of guilt. And the fact that he's helped me out so much. He is literally my rock, and nothing's going to break our friendship. Nothing. He's been able to, like, if he's been able to stay with me through my problems, then it's only right for me to stay with him by his side whilst this all gets sorted out. And it's hard. Like, the reason I cried to Sarah the other day is because it still hurts. Even now, it's been months since it happened and everything, but it still hurts. And I really miss having this in Royale, the friends group chat, because, I used to post things, they'd be like, hey, you're ready for going out tonight? Or like, when it all happened, it was like the week before I was doing a pantomime, and I was, I had been looking forward to, posting pictures, of me and my outfit and stuff like that, and whatever, and any pics that ended up on Facebook, sharing them with them in the group chat. But I couldn't do that, and I felt like there was no point to take pictures because I had no one to share them to. And it's Still hurts. And it's especially when you're sitting there and thinking, have I actually done anything wrong? Maybe in other people's eyes I have, but I feel like at the time I didn't feel like I had. But now maybe I kind of look back on it and, you know, without the rose tinted glasses, maybe I have. And it's still hard to talk about it, you know. And I just wanted to put this video out just to the best I can explain my side of it and explain why. Just to explain why I went to the guys to help me, why I needed reassurance. Just, you know, just explain my side of the story, because, you know, Morgan's got that video out there that paints me in a very horrible light. And, you know, his video paints me like I'm some horrible bitch, you know, like a monster, when I'm not. I'm soft as anything. But I just feel like I just wanted to put my video out. But I did have a wonderful time on Royale, and I just want to say, Mike, thank you so much for having me on there. And to James, Morgan, Matt, Devon, Cody, Sam, I just want to say sorry. I'm so sorry. And I want to say thank you so much for the fond memories. Thanks for the memories. That's all I've got to say. Stay dramatic.